So, shit, where are we at? 2004. I think, again, Chris Roberts called me up to do Tony Hawk's Boom Boom Huck Jam, right? Now, I had never done anything like this before, right? So, Tony's main guy is a guy by the name of Tony P. Like, he builds all his ramps. I think he still does it to this day, right? And the guy is really fucking good, right? But the thing with, like, those type of athletes is that, like, when you're doing vert, it's got to be perfect. Like, it can't be in too much, it can't be out, right? So I had never worked with anything like that. So whatever, something happened with Tony P. He left. I literally got a call. The next day I was on a flight to Vancouver, and the next day we loaded in, all right? That's how it worked. So I was relying on the carps that were there, and there was like some dissent, like, who the fuck is this guy? And I mean, rightfully so, but it was a huge build. I mean, we built in arenas, we built a 72-foot wide half pipe that was 14 feet high, and then in the center of it there was a roll through that went to a launch ramp, and they landed on a quarter pipe, you know what I mean, and came up and down, and then off the backside of the so there's this big roll in that you got to build as well besides the half pipe. And then the gag was we had a loop, right? So it's like we would like hide half the loop in the roof and what we call the garage and the roof. So at the end of the show, the big gag was the top of the, what do you call it? The loop would come in and we'd put it together, and then the guys would go through the loop, and that kind of ended the show. Oh yeah, and then we had the freestyle motocross guys who were going, they had set up a track around the perimeter of the arena floor, and then they would have to jump the half pipe on each side. So there was a ton of shit going on. I had never done anything like this, right? So when I got in there, we were having trouble with like getting the verse right. And like, you know, these guys are basically going out risking their life, right? Because unfortunately, in one of the shows, Carey Hart, right? Somebody popped up when they weren't supposed to, and he was just getting ready to launch to go across, and he locked his rear brake to miss him and like threw him into the ramp and like fucked himself up, broke a bunch of shit, ended up in the hospital. So yeah, it's serious stuff. But like, thankfully Tony P came back, so because he was really good with that vert stuff, and I thought I was going to go home, right? I'm like, okay, he's back, I'm going home. And they're like, no, you're staying out. And so I stayed out, but I had a bunch of physical problems on my own. Like, I had bursitis in my leg and all that stuff. And then I was going to go back. I left the tour because I was going to go back and work for Pink again, right? She was starting up at the end of the year. So I don't know. It's like, I kind of feel bad because hindsight being 2020, I probably wouldn't have done it the way that I did it then now. But I mean, that was almost 20 years ago, right? I was a younger man, whatever. I could sit and make excuses, but you know, if I butt hurt anybody, I'm sorry. I can't change it, like, you know. So then I left that to go back with Pink because she was doing, I think the record was called Try This, her third record. And it had all changed personnel-wise. I mean, she was still there, but there was band member changes, but mainly on like the production side, right? The new production manager coming in, whatever, I didn't like his style, or, you know, he could be a great guy, but it just didn't work for me, right? So we worked up till Christmas, and we were supposed to start rehearsals and then go to the UK and start in Europe, and I just kind of I called up and went, I'm out. Like, this isn't going to work, you know? And unfortunately, I never got to go to Alicia and say, like, look, this is why, and I apologize, because I never saw her again, right? But she knew something was up, bless her. We did I think it was the Billboard Awards, and she's going to the stage to perform, and she stopped and she goes, what's going on with you? Like, she was very intuitive, right? And I'm like, well, you know, she goes, well, we need to talk about it. And then of course it never happened. So thank you, Alicia. You're truly a wonderful person. I appreciate the time I spent with you. So what's that? That's 02, or no, we're up to 04 now, right? Yeah, 04 or 03, end of 03. I might be getting it confused. Maybe it wasn't.
Don't worry about it.
04, I don't know, Alan. It's so hard to remember it.
No,
So what else was in 04? 04 was, I think, kind of skint in the beginning of the year. I think I was doing some odd Third Eye Blind shows, like go out and do a couple weeks, you know, and come home. It wasn't like a full tour. And then again, Bill Rahmy called me up and he's like, look, Chili Peppers are going to Europe. It's the end of the By the Way tour. We're going to go do stadiums. Do you want to come in and be the carp? Right? There's going to be like you and one other guy. It's not a ton of stuff, right? But, you know, backdrops and a little bit of like walkways and stuff like that. And I'm like, shit, Chili Peppers, geez, of course, yes. And again, thanks to Bill Rahmy. So go do that and build it all. We, you know, started out, we built it in the old Docklands Arena in London, right? Build the show, everything like that, and we start doing festivals in Germany, and like, man, at that time it was huge. Like they did 3 nights, they did Hyde Park 3 nights, like 85,000 a night, sold out the Millennial Stadium in Cardiff. I mean, it was, they were doing gangbusters business then, right? So I want to say we had like 4 or maybe 5 Universal trucks, right? So we'd have like 2 stages, right? So it'd be a stage you're playing on, and they built the next stage there with PA and all that. It's kind of like how they did it then. I think we do it a little bit differently now. It's more, we have way more Universal trucks, but that's how we did it then. So again, I don't really remember too much crap going wrong or antidotes. I mean, there probably is. Oh, one of the cool things is they had James Brown out as a support act. And I think, and the Pixies were also out on some shows with the original band. And I'm pretty sure it's when we played in Paris at the Stade de France. It was the Peppers, James Brown, and the Pixies. So there's a hell of a triple bill for you, right? So we finished that, and then we went and played in Japan some shows. And then we did the 2004, the Democratic National Convention was in Boston, and there was a store there called Louis Boston. And so we played on a small stage set up there for like a party, you know, fundraiser, whatever it was. People, I don't remember, but I remember that was kind of the end of that. And I was home, I want to say, for a month, and then the Beastie Boys started up again to the 5 Boroughs tour. And Bill called me up. I went out on that. I was a lead carp on that. And that ran to the end of the year. And then we went to Australia and we played this festival there called Big Day Out. And if you've ever done the festival, you know that we call it Big Day Off because there's a lot of days off and people tend to party and everything else. But on that one, I do remember going and doing the Big Day Out thing because it was so cool. Like what they do is they have 2 stages side by side in these stadiums, right? So one band plays, you're getting ready for the other band, they stop, this band plays. So it's like nonstop. Besides the Beastie Boys, there was System of a Down, there was Slipknot, there was the Hives, there was the Donnas, there was a whole bunch of people. And it was just great to be there. And then what Mike D would do is before our show started, right, he would make these little vignettes with all the bands, right? So he'd be filming backstage, right? So there was this one premise of like the DJ at the time for the Beasties, Mixmaster Mike, right? It was like him like going around Australia or whatever, right? So it would be like his head on like an animated character in like a buggy. But the cool one is it was like the Beasties, guys from Slipknot, some of the guys, the Donnas, right? So there was this thing where somebody has stolen, I think, Mixmaster's vinyl, right? So he can't do the show, right? And then the Slipknot guys, I can't remember the whole premise, but it was really cool. Like I kind of saw it like being shot because I was busy and doing stuff, but it was great to see it like, because everybody would come and like hang out to see it because you'd see it being shot, so they know they're going to play it before the Beasties get on stage, right? So it'd be up on the big screen, this like vignette to start the show. So it was, I mean, bless you out. Again, another guy who's gone, left too soon. But it was just really cool. It was like a really cool thing that they did and got everybody involved, and I just thought it was really good. So 2005, I'm still doing